Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Worked up until our theme song. Our theme song is going to make it to Sunday afternoon one of these weeks. Welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet, and I'm here in the studio with the late Patti Fink. Lerone Landis is off today. Do you remember what... Now, we don't usually listen to each other when we tell each other that we're taking time off, right?
Right.
Okay. Do you remember what he was doing?
Adoption classes.
He is going to an adoption class, yes. A 4-year-old is not enough for that boy.
He's not qualified to take care of a child unless he goes to adoption classes. But he has a 4-year-old at home.
He has a 4-year-old. So he's at adoption class.
Mm-hmm. More power to you, Lerone.
Lerone, if you're listening, you know what we think of you here. You're nuts. No, I think that's real sweet that they're adopting another baby. It is Pledge Drive.
Right.
Our guest today, let's introduce Leslie. Leslie McMurray is our transgender guest talking about Transgender Day of Remembrance. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you very much.
It is Pledge Drive. You knew it's Pledge Drive when I invited you. I told you, and let's do a pledge break. Doc is by the phone. He's done screwing up our theme song and everything else.
We love you, Doc. Thank you.
The number is 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. You know, lots of ways that you can give. You can pledge online. Just go to knon.org, click the pledge button. You can pledge with a bank draft. Those really help the station because if you make just a small chunk each month, we have steady income coming in, and we love those.
What about a bag of small bills just left outside the door?
Those work too.
That would be awesome.
That works. Unmarked.
Anonymously, it's fine.
They can be forged. We don't care.
I wouldn't go there.
Okay. They can't be forged. They need to be real. But you can do a bank draft. If you do a bank draft, just call, give us your name, tell us how much you want the bank draft to be. The station will get back to you with all the information that you need for that. We have a number of special pledge premiums. The Texas Theater, we have movie passes good for any movie at the historic Texas Theater. Go to thetexastheater.com to see all the movie showings. The Texas Theater is located at 231 West Jefferson Boulevard in Oak Cliff. We have one pair for pledge. A $30 pledge gets a pair of tickets, or a $60 pledge gets a pair of tickets and a T-shirt.
Well, which is pretty cool, especially this week. This is kind of that big Dallas unpleasantness.
Yeah,
that we've been talking
the word
about.
that we're not allowed to say with a directive from City Hall: assassination.
Right. It's the big 50th anniversary of JFK's trip down Elm in Dallas. So the Texas Theater is historic in that story as well. So
because that's where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's you know, the Texas Theater is alive and well and doing some great stuff. So
yeah,
it's a great premium.
It was hit or miss for that theater for years and years. It is finally on solid footing. It's been renovated. It is constantly busy. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Give us a call.
Think of it as adopting a 30-year-old radio station.
There we go.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that. It's this adopting us, and
yes.
supporting us. And
Care and feeding.
Care and feeding is exactly what we're about.
Yeah.
Because nobody here at the station, we have like 4 employees. Nobody else doing the shows is paid at all. We're all volunteers.
Right.
And have been for 30 years. So it's a great way to adopt us.
Yes, it is.
So 972-647-1893.
And we have all of our regular pledge premiums. If you go online, you can see a whole list of them, knon.org. Click on the pledge button. And, from the football jerseys and the T-shirts and the aprons and caps and all that stuff that we usually have, 972-647-1893. That's 647. That's not. Yeah. I had the phone number perfect, and then our station manager walked into the studio.
Wouldn't you know, you're asking for money, and one of the people drawing a check comes in and messes it up.
972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Dave,
Suits.
Look at the check. At the video, I got it. 972-647-1893. Actually, he walked in making faces at us. Our guest today is Leslie
McMurray.
I know that. I have it written right here. Leslie McMurray. Leslie and I met a few weeks ago. I was doing a story about a new legal clinic that GEAR, which is the transgender group at the Resource Center. It's a new legal clinic that they're doing because there's a lot, and we're going to talk about this later, lots of legal stuff that the rest of us in the LGBT community don't even think about. But they have a ton of legal problems and stuff. And some of it's not problems, it's just stuff you have to do.
It's challenges.
But I want to start with your story because it was part of why we met and part of the story that we did. And by the way, the reason that you're here today, or Wednesday, is Transgender Day of Remembrance. We're doing that today.
Correct. November 20th is traditionally the day that it's observed, but many cities across the country choose to do it on a weekend because a lot of time turnout is difficult, especially during the holidays, and you can kind of get a little crazy with Thanksgiving and all. So the 17th is when it is tonight. It's out at the Cathedral of Hope between 7 and 9. We'd love to see everyone come out. You don't need to be part of the LGBT community. All you have to do is have a little bit of compassion in your heart. We have a great speaker out. Allison Robinson is the keynote speaker tonight, a West Point graduate, and she's a pretty smart cookie. She has degrees in physics and a master's of divinity and an emphasis on social justice from Baylor University's Truett Theological Seminary. Very, very interesting speaker.
And she was the last executive director of SLDN Outserve. Donations kind of dried up. I'm sure she'll talk about it some tonight. Yeah. And so she left after just a very short tenure, but she was the first transgender person to run an LGBT organization that was not transgender oriented.
Right.
I mean, dealt with transgender issues, but that wasn't the sole focus.
Yeah, trailblazer.
Yeah.
Well, I knew she was just an incredibly accomplished person and all of the stuff. I didn't know that she had gone to Baylor, which is my alma mater.
There you go.
Sick of bears. Way. Now, tell us what Transgender Day of Remembrance is and how it began.
I don't specifically know how.
1998, yes. And it was in memory of somebody who...
I believe it was in New York that was murdered. But the Transgender Day of Remembrance is really to honor the memory of people that were murdered, more or less, for just living authentic lives. And it's kind of frightening and terrifying as a transgender person to know the number of people that are murdered each year. And in the United States, the number is close to 30 year in and year out.
And 2 in the Dallas area.
In the hundreds.
This year.
Yeah, there was one up in Denton just recently.
And there was one in Oak Cliff.
It also, depending on who you talk to, some will consider suicide, some don't. Most consider just violent murder. And the sad reality is, not that there's any pleasant way to be murdered, but most are beaten to death very up close and personal. It is a very personal type of attack, and it's grisly and it's wrong, and it just needs to stop.
The one in Oak Cliff, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Bashed her head on. It was a cement wall, I think what it was.
It's just terrifying. It's very sad. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So we want to observe their courage for just living their lives as who they are and not being in fear. And my hat's off to every one of my brothers and sisters in the transgender community for doing just exactly that, because it's not an easy life.
Well, I think it's important for allies to be there and to express their support.
That means so much.
because we have to stand together.
Amen.
We have to stand together in this. And it seems to me like as the more visibility that the transgender community gets, and I think that's a great thing.
It's a win for everybody.
Things are happening in terms of your equality and our equality all together. Yeah. And but to pay the price, it's a huge price to pay, just to be an authentically true person in the United States today, and still be able to do all the things that everybody does. Navigate life with a job and a home and all of those things that come with it. Yeah. So it's really important that we all stand together. So I would encourage everybody to come tonight at the Cathedral of Hope, which is at Inwood and
Cedar Springs.
Cedar Springs.
Yep.
Yeah, 5910 Cedar Springs is the address.
Speaking of jobs, the unemployment rate among the transgender community is double or triple the national unemployment rate.
Yeah, the number hangs around 35%, I believe. Yeah. And it is also underemployed. The vast majority that do have jobs are making less than $16,000 a year.
And we've had people like Jamie, who was on our show, who lost her job when her company found out that she was transgender. We have another one. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored.
Now, you were working in radio.
Yeah, I was in radio. I've had a 30-some-odd-year career in radio.
And because it matters how you dress for radio... they
Since when? Look at you, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, look at you.
I'm wearing my black shorts because it is November. I almost put on a pair of white shorts, and I thought, no.
It's after Labor Day.
It's after Labor Day. Yeah. And because it matters how you dress for radio, and you can't, they did it the right way in order to avoid a lawsuit.
Well, I can't say that there's definitely a connection or not. I don't want to cast aspersions on anyone. I'd certainly like to work in the industry again. I know that it's been a real challenge to find work since then, where it never was before. I can't say again 100% why, because again, people don't give you reasons, and people are smart enough not to come out and say, here's why we're not even going to talk to you. But it kind of makes you wonder in the back of your head. Because I'm not hiding anything. I'm very much upfront. I'm not trying to fool anyone.
Now, I know one of the things that we always talk about, and I thought of it because it is Pledge Drive, when shows don't get calls, they go off the air.
972-647-1893.
But when a station is getting ratings, that station keeps its format. And especially a conglomerate like you worked for that had at least half a dozen stations in the area, they're normally going to make the changes at the one that isn't getting the ratings.
Well, but I think that's an oversimplification, but yeah, generally speaking, it has more to do with revenue than it does ratings.
Sure.
So again, I'm not going to dive into their rationalization. I can say that in about maybe 4 years prior to me completely going full-time as female and jumping into the whole transition, including hormone therapy and all that, I'd kind of been expressing myself more than usual, and so there was kind of some ways that were fairly obvious that something was going on. I'm not sure they knew specifically what it was. Also, at the time, I was going through a particularly upsetting divorce. So, there could have been a lot going on. Again, I don't want to get into their reasoning, because I'm not worried about what happened. I'm just worried about what's next.
But we're just going to make it clear that yours was not the bottom-rated station.
No.
Yours was the top-rated station of all of their stations, and other people get divorces too. So, if they want to use that as an excuse,
well, they didn't. So I'm not going to put words in their mouths. But yeah.
Anyway, so we're not mentioning what station it was. It had nothing to do with KNON though. Right. It was one of those other 60-some-odd stations.
Yeah, I've worked in 13 cities and 7 states, so onward.
Oh, okay.
Onward,
so
exactly.
you're saying that you started transitioning, taking hormones, doing other things that were it was beginning to show that something was going on. But when did your transition story really start?
Well, I knew that I was born differently, and one of the things I'm working on is my voice. Forgive me, because I've spent 30 years trying to train it to not do this. But I knew when I was a small child, I was maybe 5 years old, I knew that was different. There wasn't any question or doubt. It wasn't, wonder what's happening with me. It was, I knew that I was a little girl. I just happened to have a little boy's body. And I was okay with that, but I knew that I was different. And I did ask my mom at one point, because again, I was born in the late 50s, so there really wasn't even the vocabulary then to express what I was feeling inside. There just wasn't the words. There wasn't any examples. There wasn't anyone in the news or TV or anywhere that I could look to. So I felt when I was a little kid like I was the only one. I didn't know anyone else like me, and I later learned that people like me didn't talk about that anyway, so I wouldn't know. But I tried to open the conversation once with my mom, and she was ironing, and I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old, so this is like 1964. And I said, Mom, what was my name going to be if I was born a little girl? Because back then they didn't have the ultrasound, so they generally picked out a boy name and a girl name. And she said, we're going to name you Leslie. And I said, oh, okay. So to me, that's always been my name. I remember that. I carried it with me. And when the time came to legally change it, that's what it became. So really, it's the name my parents gave me, just unknowingly.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, you know, a lot of people pick out names that they dislike for whatever reason, but to me that one has an awful lot of meaning. But I kind of learned by watching other guys how to mimic and act male, because once I started public school, if you didn't act in a way that was consistent with everyone else, you pretty much got your rear end kicked.
We're going to take a break.
Sure.
It is Pledge Drive. Give us a call, 972-647-1893. You know, one thing about KNON, KNON has stood by the LGBT community since day one. We were on the air on this station the day the station went on the air.
August 1983.
August, I think, 2nd was the date. And we were one of those very, very first shows. When the station manager came to Dallas Gay and Lesbian Alliance and said we'd like a gay and lesbian show, the reaction was, sure, what's that? And because we were the first. We were before the Dallas Voice. We were before there was any communication really in the gay and lesbian community in North Texas. So this station has stood by the gay and lesbian community for 30 years. I'm asking the gay and lesbian community to step up and make a donation. $40 pledge gets you a t-shirt. $50 pledge gets you a
back rub.
Oh, you have the list. 2 bags of coffee.
$40 pledge gets a lot of stuff. You could get folding headphones, a KNON Army hat, a KNON barbecue apron. I've always been a fan of the apron over the years, and it's coming at Thanksgiving and the holidays. It would be really great. Or a ball cap, or the 6-pack cooler.
So, you know, another thing that we have for $50 pledges are some gift certificates. We have some wonderful gift certificates to restaurants. For a $50 pledge, you get a $30 gift certificate. We have one to Snookies. We have one to the Alligator Cafe is a $25 gift certificate. Spiral Diner's a $30 gift certificate, and Company Cafe. I'm going to read a little bit more about each of these after the break. Except Doc is on the phone, and he's not going to be able to do 2 things at once.
If you donate $100, I'll go shoe shopping with you.
That's very nice. Okay, Doc has got it. Give us a call, 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. We'll be back with more Lambda Weekly right after this.
KNON's Big Texas Blues Thanksgiving radio show is coming Thursday, November 28th. This is Blue Lisa, and I'm inviting you to be a part of this KNON Thanksgiving tradition. Tickets are at knon.org. Doors open at 8:30 a.m., and we go on the air live at 9 a.m. We'll have live music from the Reverend K.M. Williams, Holland K. Smith, KNON's own Greg Smith performing with J. Mack, James Hinkle, and Jackie Don Lowe. Alligator Cafe will serve the Chef Ivan Thanksgiving special. Hurry and get your tickets. Seating is limited. It's a very special holiday live broadcast event in the KNON Live Music Studio. It's a great way to start your Thanksgiving day with your friends from community radio and the Dallas Blues community. This Thanksgiving morning at KNON, 5353 Maple Avenue in Dallas. Tickets available now at knon.org or 214-237-3003. This is a KNON benefit event. This is Blue Lisa from KNON 89.3 FM. If you like what you're hearing and you want to help support great community radio, pick up the phone and call to make your pledge. 972-647-1893. 972-647-1893.
No.
I'm older than it is.
No.
Oh, okay. You're on the air.
Oh, I'm on the air. It is Pledge Drive here at Lambda Weekly at KNON. We're just wrapping up Pledge Drive. Well, not really. Yeah, kind of. We're going to wrap it up this week. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Or go online to knon.org.
If Jerry Jones were to call up, he could probably end it like that, huh?
Yeah, he probably could.
Oh, easily. Easily.
Just
We
cut us
hope
a
Jerry
check.
would call.
Come on, Jerry. Cut us a check.
We have some wonderful gift certificates. The Company Cafe, a $30 gift certificate. Company Cafe offers natural, fresh fare with an organic twist. A farm-to-table cafe, an avid small business supporter. Their menus feature many Texas vendors. Menu at companycafe.net. There's a new location. It's 2104 Lower Greenville Avenue in Dallas. 1 block from the old location. We have one Company Cafe gift certificate for a $50 pledge. It's a $30 gift certificate. Give us a call, 972-647-1893.
And you know, if you're listening and you've been listening and you know the history of the show, you know that we've been on the air now 30 years, and for many, many people living in East Texas and across North Texas and West Texas and Central Texas, there was a day and time when they would put on their headphones and go in their room and close the door, and it was the only LGBT thing they could get in their area.
Right.
No magazines, no newspapers, no internet.
There wasn't an internet before
Right.
the internet.
And so if you appreciate that service of this show in those past decades and even today, a great way to express and honor the show and its service and KNON's support of our community is with a pledge to KNON in honor of Lambda Weekly. 972-647-1893. We have a $50 pledge, gets you a $25 gift certificate to a favorite of mine, Alligator Cafe. $25 at Alligator Cafe gets you tons of Cajun food that is authentic. Now, my partner Erin is from New Orleans, has her stamp of approval. So there's a location in Deep Ellum at 2912 Elm Street, and also at Garland Road in Buckner in Castle Linden, right next to Albertsons there. So give us a call, 972-647-1893.
We have one more, Spiral Diner and Bakery. It's a $30 gift certificate. $50 pledge gets you the $30 gift certificate. Okay, were they stereotyping and giving this to our show? Starts off, the little spot starts off. Are you a vegan?
Maybe.
Are you interested in trying and eating some healthy food? Well, now is your chance to eat some of the best tasting vegan food in town with a gift certificate from Spiral Diner and Bakery. Spiral Diner uses only organic ingredients whenever possible. All items on their menu are 100% vegan, meaning no meat, no eggs, no milk, honey, casein, which means they are naturally cholesterol free. It's located in Oak Cliff on Beckley, 1101 North Beckley. It's North Oak Cliff, right near Methodist Hospital. Really.
Right near Lee's old rooming house.
Yeah, right. It's right there.
In the theme of the week.
Yeah, you can come by and see it and have yourself some vegan food. Doesn't get better than that.
They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're closed Mondays. Give us a call, 972-647-1893. We are talking today to Leslie McMurray. She is transgender. Tonight is the observance of Transgender Day of Remembrance. We were just talking a little bit about your story.
Sure.
Okay, so as a kid, you didn't have any role models.
No.
And did you really, as a gay kid growing up?
No, I didn't. I had a lot of crushes on people around me.
And I really didn't either as a gay kid, but by the time I got to college, I had plenty of them. When did you first meet some transgender people?
It wasn't until fairly recently.
Okay.
I guess it's hard to explain a little bit, but I got married fairly young, and I was married for 33 years. I kept the feelings that I had inside. They never went away, but they would kind of ebb and flow. But the dysphoria that we feel, this kind of disjointed nature between what you feel and know you are inside versus what your anatomy says you are and what the doctor said you are.
And what society says you are.
Yeah, what society says you are, and you're expected to live up to these certain standards and all. And I did the best I could. And really, to me, I was living the dream. Back in like 1997, I was making good money, had a big house in the mountains, had a ski boat, wife, 2 kids. And I just had to, go, why aren't I completely happy? There's still something missing. And so I fought it, off and on for a long, long time. And really the kind of first big crack in the dam came in 2009. My wife and I would always go to Mendocino for our anniversary, which is the north coast of California. And she decided for our anniversary one year she was going to give me a pedicure. So I sat down in this chair in front of the fireplace and the ocean outside the door, and she gave me a pedicure, and she got all done, and I just screwed up every ounce of courage I had. I said, "Aren't you going to paint them?" And she said, "Okay, what color?" And she had a pink, or she had a purple and a teal, and I handed her the teal, and so she painted them teal, and for the rest of the week I walked around like that, and I thought it was great. And it just sort of kind of kept, after that there was just no stopping it. But about 4 years later I finally came out to her, and
well, was she surprised?
Oh, I don't know. Her first reaction, because she knew that something was going on, because it was getting really, really bad. I mean, it was live or die bad. And so she said, "I know you're hiding something." And I said, "Well, yeah, but I can't untell you once I tell you." And she said, "Well, I want to know." And I said, "Okay, but know this, it's, it could be pretty bad." And it was. But her first initial reaction was, "Is that all it is? I've known that for a long time." Because, I mean, there were certainly signs if you're paying attention.
Well, and you had been together for 30 years.
Yeah,
you know somebody pretty well after 30 years.
Well, yeah, by this time I was painting my toes and fingers all the time. My legs had been shaved for a year, and I was just heading kind of in that direction. So she was sort of seeing some of those signs, but she didn't know specifically what it was. So when I told her, she was actually kind of relieved. But then she started reading up on what exactly transition was like and what it implied, and the full reality of it hit her, and she became very, very depressed, and we ended up splitting up. But my daughter's,
which is understandable.
Oh, it is, and I don't hold any blame for her at all. I mean, I still love her,
and even her depression.
Oh my God, it's common as can be. Yeah. Because here, you've built your life around this man, and you're a knight in shining armor, and it turns your entire world upside down. Right. So
if she wasn't depressed, it would almost mean she didn't care enough. Yeah. It shows that how much she did care.
Yeah, I don't blame her at all. I mean, there's no animosity at all. I mean, I still love her very much, and I wish nothing but the best for her.
Sure.
Now, are you able to have like a good relationship with her now? Or are you still working on that?
Define good relationship. She's in another state. We talk, and we can text and all that without saying 4-letter words at each other. But it still needs some reparation, but I think we're heading in the right direction. She certainly respects me. She uses my name, which is more than my brother does. But my 2 daughters have been unbelievable. They are 33 and 27. And
how did they receive the news?
They received the news when my ex-wife went to Atlanta. This is where they were living at the time, and she told them. And then they called, and we talked on the phone a little bit, and they were fine. It's like, we love you no matter what.
That's awesome.
But when I went back for Christmas last year to see my daughter in Atlanta, she had never seen Leslie. Oh. So this would be the first time. She has a very large extended family through her husband. They're all kind of Georgia, South Carolina, Florida people. And so she invited me back. And when I hit the door, my 3 grandchildren came running up and said, "Grandma Leslie." And threw their arms around me. So that just melted my heart. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes, because that didn't come from them, that came from her. So, I mean, that meant a lot to me. My youngest daughter is in cosmetology school, and she's seen me a number of times, and she, I think the first time she just held me, and she said, "I've never felt so close to you," because I'd really opened up to her, which I wasn't able to do before. So it's brought a kind of closeness that wasn't there before. Well, she's in cosmetology school and is doing very, very well. And she's due to graduate in December, mid-December. And she called me recently and she said, "I want you to come out for my graduation." I said, "Okay." Well, the graduation is when you hit a certain number of hours, and you hit 1,600 hours. So she's calculating the day that she'll graduate. And she said, "I want you to come out, and I want you to be my final client."
Oh, how awesome.
So she's going to do my hair, and this is going to be the biggest honor ever. So I'm going to be her final client, and we'll walk out, and she'll graduate, and then she can go take her state board and go make a living.
Well, that's very nice.
That's huge.
It was very, very touching.
I mean, I know from talking to other people, that's not the usual story.
You know, I'm learning from talking to other people there's no such thing as a usual story. And, you know, when people use words like normal, I don't even know what that means anymore. You know, because people would ask me when they find out, people that have known me for a long time, there's a bunch of questions that people ask, and they're almost always the same ones.
You know, they say normal's just a cycle in the washer.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I think there's things that are more common than others, but as far as normal, but, you know, people ask, so, are you gay? I'll say, I don't know what's gay. If I like women, does that make me a lesbian? But I was born male, does that make me hetero? If I like guys, am I... It's just, when you start hanging labels, being transgender just turns everything upside down. Because so I just don't even worry about labels. You know, to me, at this point in my life, love is so precious and so scarce. If someone's willing to love me, and I'm willing to say, hey, love me for who I am, don't judge me based on gender presentation, I'd be kind of a hypocrite if I did that.
Well, I think it's a really tough thing to grasp in our community, as well as the general society, that sexual orientation and gender identity are very
Not
different concepts. Completely different.
I tell people that your sexual preference is who you go to bed with. Your gender identity is who you go to bed as. And that's the best way I can explain that. It's very simple, but it delineates that. It's not the same thing, and they're not interconnected.
No, not at all. Because you can be transgender and have any sexual orientation. You can have any sexual orientation and have any gender identity.
Yeah, the binary just goes right out the window. Plus, the whole gender identity binary is wrong anyway. It's not just male-female. There's a whole sliding scale in there of the way that people prefer to be identified, and I think it's important to anyone that's listening to honor that particular person and how they would like to be identified.
And I like to tell people too that, you know, everyone has a sexual orientation, everyone has a gender identity, everybody poops. I mean, it's like, you know, even dead people have a temperature. So, you know, it's something that everybody has, and I think a lot of people, like we've been seeing recently, like with Brian Fisher from the American Family Association, trying to say, you know, that
if ENDA passes, everybody will have to be gay.
That he's not even acknowledging that he has a sexual orientation, that heterosexuality is protected under ENDA. You know, I mean, he doesn't get that connection because he doesn't think he has only gay people or
have a sexual
orientation, but they do too.
Exactly. I've kind of wondered since the Supreme Court decision how many hetero people have been forced to gay marry.
My last count is about 3,000 or 4,000 people.
Really?
They've been forced.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy, just their darkest fears realized.
Yep.
Note the sarcasm here.
Right. And we get, you know, we have that power in society to destroy civilization as we know it.
Well, you know, you and I have been pretty good at creating tornadoes.
This is true. We had 17 last year, right here in North Texas.
Right. That we did ourselves.
If you have a second, there's another thought that occurred to me, a quick story of things, because there's so much you don't think about. There's a million things you don't think about. And I was really super busy this year. I was moving some of my ex-wife's stuff out. I was loading a truck and moving it to California. And it happened to be that it was on a Sunday in June, Father's Day. And I had not at all prepared for the implications of that. It was the first Father's Day with Dad as Leslie. And the girls don't call me Dad anymore. And so they were both a little bit confused. They both called me, and I talked to my youngest a little bit. And then my oldest, though, had a little bit of a problem. And I wasn't able to give it the kind of time and attention I wanted to, because I was right in the middle of something at the time. And I said, honey, can I call you back later? And she said, yeah. So I called, and I wasn't able to get her, but we talked the next day. And she said, I wanted to post a picture of you on Facebook because so many of my friends, everybody was posting pictures of their dads, but she said, I didn't want to offend you. And I said, oh, for God's sakes. Because I know I have some transgender friends that kind of disavow their entire previous life. They get rid of all the pictures and all that. And I can understand that, but I'm not one of those people. And so I told her, I said, absolutely, you can post anything you want to. And she said, yeah, I wanted to post the picture of you walking me down the aisle. And I just lost it. I started crying. I was just absolutely brokenhearted. And I felt so bad because I wasn't out in front of that. I didn't anticipate that kind of uncomfortable thing. And we worked through it, and I think it's going to be fine from here on out. But it really is odd to kind of change that definition, because I'm certainly not their mom. Their mom is their mom. And I'm their dad as far as genetics go, but as far as, you know, that kind of role model, I'm not a very good dad role model. So we're trying to reshape exactly what that relationship is, and for every family it's different.
I think it's important to not be so, this is the way I am and everybody has to
everybody's
rearrange
so
their
different.
lives for me.
We're all little snowflakes.
Yeah, exactly.
No two alike.
And whatever works.
That's it. You know, it's important for you to be happy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when you subscribe to conformity, it makes everyone else happy except you.
Right. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, people say, you know, why do you have to be gay? Why do you have to go flaunt it? I'm like, we're not flaunting it. We're just living our lives, and you see it as flaunting. And if I did,
why
if
are
I
you
were
flaunting
not
your
myself,
heterosexuality?
right? And if I were not myself, then I'm doing it for you, and I don't even know you.
Yeah, I'm not.
You don't know me.
I'm not on a recruiting mission. I'm not. I mean, this is the hardest thing ever. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
No, we do recruit.
Yeah, well.
Well, it's the whole toaster oven incentive.
Exactly.
Because we're cheap dates is what we are.
You are listening to Lambda Weekly, trying to give some valid information today. It is Pledge Drive, and we haven't gotten calls. 972-647-1893. We know we just changed our time slot, and a lot of our regular listeners haven't found us yet. But if you are one of our regular listeners, or more preferably if there's something I was going to say an irregular listener, if there's something irregular about you, we really want you to call even more. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. I am so proud of myself. I haven't looked at that number once today.
You'd think after
20
years
that we've had that number, you would think that I would know it. I finally learned it after 20 years. 3 weeks of Pledge Drive every 4 months. I finally learned it. 972-647-1893. I'm going to do just a whole show of the phone number one time.
That would be awesome. Try different accents, though.
We have a $30 gift certificate.
We have a $30 gift certificate for a $50 pledge. So that's a really amazing payback for your support. Snooki's Bar and Grill, a classic in Oak Lawn, founded in 1989, which was the year I moved to Dallas.
I thought you were going to say the year you were born.
I could. Anyway, it's Snooki's.
I was ready to go.
Right there at Oak Lawn and Lemon, Snooki's Bar and Grill, $30 gift certificate for a $50 pledge. So
give us a call, 972-647-1893. We also have a Spiral Diner $30 gift certificate, Spiral Diners in Oak Cliff, a Company Cafe $30 gift certificate, Company Cafe is on Lower Greenville Avenue, and Texas Theater movie passes. A $30 pledge gets a pair of tickets, $60 pledge gets a pair of tickets and a t-shirt. Easy for me to say. And we had one other gift certificate. Oh, the Alligator Cafe, a $25 gift certificate for a $50 pledge. Give us a call, 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Operators, mostly Doc, are standing by.
Give us a call.
Recycle Revolution is a local recycling collection service and community drop-off center. They collect and accept all traditional recyclables, including paper, plastic, aluminum, cardboard, and glass, as well as TVs, computers, lamps, light bulbs, batteries, ballasts, and styrofoam. They offer collection services to apartments, condos, and businesses. They also offer a community drop-off located at 1703 Chestnut Street in Dallas. For more information, 214-566-3025 or recyclerevolutiondallas.com.
In 1963, I was overcome by enormous grief. 50 years ago, President John F. Kennedy was my Commander-in-Chief. This is Lee Powell, inviting you to a special commemorative event honoring and remembering the last days of JFK, Saturday, November 23rd, at the historic Texas Theater. We witnessed the reflections and perspectives of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy while dining in the building made infamous 50 years ago. Celebrity chef Patrick Smith of Tejano Brothers' new Texas Cuisine will be serving the exact dinner prepared for JFK on the last night of his life. Come and experience the memories of this fateful and historic day. Seating is limited. Get your tickets today for this one-of-a-kind event. That's Saturday, November 23rd at the Texas Theater, 231 West Jefferson Boulevard in Oak Cliff. Doors open at 5. Dinner will be served at 6. Tickets are available at knon.org. This is a KNON commemorative benefit event.
This is Janice McCall from TCU, and I listen to Lambda Week on 89.3 KNON FM, Dallas.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet. I'm here in the studio with the late Patti Fink. Lerone Landis has the day off. Our guest today is Leslie McMurray. She is transgender and is here talking about Transgender Day of Remembrance. Before we get back to that, we have all kinds of pledge premiums that are perfect for our show that were put together with our show. It's some Texas Theater movie passes and several gift certificates for restaurants. So give us a call. It's $30 gift certificates for a $50 pledge. 972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Give us a call.
And you could even make an evening of it with you and the person you're enjoying being out with. Go to
for an $80 pledge, you can get
theater
2 Texas Theater
go to dinner,
movie passes, and a Spiral Diner in Oak Cliff dinner.
Right.
Gift certificate.
Or go to Alligator Cafe, and then you could take the train down to Oak Cliff, or take the new Dark D-Link. It's a free loop, a bus that loops free through Bishop Arts all the way up through Uptown and back.
972-647-1893. That's 972-647-1893. Leslie.
Yes, my roommate's an attorney, too. You can put KNON in your will. She'll help hook you up.
Oh, awesome.
There you go.
Perfect.
How's that?
A fine beneficiary.
Tonight is, we are observing Transgender Day of Remembrance. Just give us the details on that one more time.
Details on that. It's out at the Cathedral of Hope tonight between 7 and 9. It's open to everyone. We'd love to see as many people down there as possible. They'll be lighting candles and reading the list of names of people that died or were murdered in the last year, just for living authentic lives. So we'd like to invite everyone down there. We have a very nice speaker as well. And
speaker is Allison Robinson, who's the former director of OutServe Service Members Legal Defense Network, which was the merged organization of the two groups that got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell for us. Let's talk a little bit about all the legal stuff.
Oh boy, how much time you got?
We don't have a whole lot of time, and that's the thing, because, you know, we've done shows on what gay couples have to do to protect themselves. You know, the wills and the powers of attorney and living trusts and all that kind of stuff. Your issues are different.
Well, there's that, the wills and living trusts and all that, but there's
it's important too,
so much
sure.
more. Yeah, there's, in addition to that, one of the more critical things is being able to get our names and gender markers changed on our ID. And
explain gender marker.
Gender marker, if you look at your driver's license down there, it has your height, and it has your address and your name, but also it has designation. It actually says sex, and it's either an M or an F. And if you were born male but you're now female and identify female, that's what you wanted to read. Sadly, though, there isn't really a firm state law here in Texas that permits that to be done. It really depends on individual judges. So some judges will sign off on that, some
So
won't.
there's no law preventing it?
No, there's no law preventing it. It's really, the way it's construed, the way I understand it is, the law is designed to permit corrections where there was an error. And I think there's a loose definition of error, and that is saying that when I was born, they should have known. I mean, they looked between my legs instead of looking between my ears. So that was an error. And they also will accept letters from doctors saying that you've gone through necessary medical treatment to render you female, and so the judge will sign off on that. It's not something they do willy-nilly, and that's what makes me so mad with this PJI, the Pacific Justice Institute in California, that's trying to overturn 1266. It was recently signed by Governor Brown, which makes it a whole lot easier and permits transgender students to be able to be on the sports team of their gender identity and also to use restroom facilities that match their gender identity. This isn't something that would be done lightly. They're not boys running amok in the girls' room. This is people that were born male, that identify female, that present female, that are seeing a gender therapist and have been diagnosed with this, I hate to use the word disorder because it's not a disorder, it's not a mental illness, but it's a biological fact that we identify as who we are, and it's not a big deal for us to be using the right bathroom other than being forced to use the wrong one, in which case it can put us in physical jeopardy.
Now we know in the city of Dallas, the designations of men and women on restroom doors is just a courtesy. It's not a law.
Yeah, in the city of Dallas, there are protections for transgender people using a bathroom that matches their identity. But the funny thing is, I was mentioning to David before we went on, is it's a consideration for people that are cisgendered. Or how many of you consider, when you use the bathroom, a public bathroom, am I in the city limits or am I in county?
Right.
Because that could actually have an effect on your freedom.
Or even if you're in the city limits, city regulations don't affect Parkland. That's county.
Yeah.
So you're in the city, but
right.
That's
But you may
really
not be
pretty crazy.
protected. Yeah. So it's just we really need to have some standardization, and some laws need to be passed just for simple protections. And we're looking at things like ENDA. It would be nice to see that passed, but time and again the T falls off the LGB train.
it's there in
It's there right now.
It's there right now, but
It passed the Senate.
It's never going to get through the House. Boehner will not allow it, and it's really frustrating. But the next step beyond that is being able to hire transgender people to protect, because it's one thing to protect them when they're employed from being unlawfully terminated. But
you gave this example. You've worked in radio for more than 30 years. And part of the discrimination you're facing in looking for a new job is they're not even either not interviewing you, or if they are interviewing you, when they decide that you're transgender,
I'm
really
very
serious
upfront about it,
Yeah.
because the difficulty for me, even though all of my ID says female on it, identifies me as Leslie, my history on the radio is all as my birth name. So I have to pretty much out myself.
Right.
And I do. I'm very upfront about it. Like I said, I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to hide anything. But where I used to get phone calls returned right away, it's not so much now. And, people that were friendly to me before are sort of friendly now. But there's a saying that I heard a while back that I really like, and it's justice is what love looks like in public. There's people that want to be your friend, and there's people that will have lunch with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit of that. I understand some people's, nervousness and trepidation because there's so much misunderstanding. But that's what I want to try and do, is solve some of that misunderstanding, because we're not scary people.
But here's the thing that you pointed out. How many transgender people are on the air on the radio in the United States right now?
None that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't know of a single one.
I think it's really interesting if you look outside the United States. Countries like Nepal, they have a third gender that you can wear. You don't have to commit to male or female. And
Germany just allowed that.
Just recently in Germany, they haven't offered a third box, but you can have them both null. You can have them both blank.
Right. You can just decide later. And I think that's kind of nice.
And maybe your decision later is just to keep them both.
Well, it's especially valuable for intersex people who've been forced to kind of choose now, and sometimes they'll do what amounts to more or less irreversible surgery on someone, and then find out that they guessed wrong. So that's really good.
I think it's a really great trend to let the individual decide how they identify.
Wow, what a concept!
Yeah, imagine that. We don't have to tell you what we think you ought to do with your life.
But I need to tell you what you need to do with your life.
Some people do, apparently.
But when we're talking about the legal things and all the stuff that you have to get changed,
when you go to court,
so your birth certificate.
Yeah, you go to court, you get a court order that changes your name and gender. And for me, that was a really, really big day. I mean, I sobbed when the judge said, "You will be known hereafter as Leslie Michelle McMurray." It meant a lot to me, especially since it was a name my parents gave. But that's the ticket then to go to DPS, and you get a new driver's license, which changes your name and gender on the license. And then you go to Social Security.
Well, before you do that, at the same time, your voter registration card, because you can't vote unless they match exactly.
And I think that
which Greg Abbott's doesn't.
Well, I think transgender people are going to be inordinately affected by this, because many of them either have their name changed but not their gender, or voter registration being different from driver's license. It's a cumbersome process to go through all the various things, but a lot of people don't know that there's a gender designation in Social Security. It's not on the card, but it's in their system. And prior to about July of this year, people were being outed when they'd apply for work, even if you had everything listed as female name and everything. When you'd fill out the I-9 for employment, they would kick it up to Social Security. They'd send it back saying it doesn't match. This person's male. And so then becomes the conversation of, did you falsify a work record? So it was
people are fired for that,
humiliating, or just not hired, saying, "Oh, sorry, you falsified."
Well, or they might have been. Usually, you're already working there for a couple of weeks by the time that comes back.
It's happened. So now that's been smoothed out a lot, but you do need to ask, and you do need to get the gender designation in Social Security, and then.
That was from the Obama administration, an executive order.
Which is wonderful. California has also streamlined the ability to get birth certificates changed, and thankfully I was born in California, and instead of doing an amended birth certificate, which to some degree outs you as well, California reissues an original. So what I have is an original birth certificate from California that identifies me as me and female.
That's awesome.
It's wonderful. Oh my God, the day that arrived.
So that here in Texas, where a transgender person is considered to be the birth sex, you can marry somebody in Texas
legally.
Yes, I can. Yeah. So I think whether
and
Texas
if you
wants
marry
to
somebody,
or not, they're gonna.
if you marry a she could marry a transgender woman. It would be two women marrying, and they could do it legally because she's legally a woman, and the other woman,
if she was born in Texas, would not be able to get the birth certificate. So yeah, isn't that messy?
It is very messy.
And it all has to do with, we have to get into your business, and it matters to us.
Well, we just have to drag
for whatever reason
legislature in Texas out of the dark ages, kicking and screaming into the new light.
But going through,
there's so many reasons to do that. I assure you.
Going through some of the other things that you have to change, a car title.
Yeah, car title.
That's a pain in the neck to change a car title.
It is, and then you go through all your credit cards, and every one of the credit card companies has a different policy. So you have to call them up, and they'll say, "Well, we have a form that you need to send, and then we need the court order and a copy of your driver's license." So you have to wait for them to send the form, you get all that information, then you put it in the envelope, send it back to them, and then they send you a new credit card, times however many credit cards you have. But some will allow you to just send the information to them, to a particular address. Everyone's different. Get your car insurance changed over, your utility bills, the rental agreements, virtually everything that identifies you needs to be changed, and it's very cumbersome, very time consuming. It's taken almost 90 days since I actually got the name changed to get everything changed over.
I think 90 days is fast.
I think that's incredibly fast, too.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I think you're setting a world record there.
Yeah. Well, I'm very diligent. I couldn't wait. I drove quickly from the courthouse to DPS.
And isn't it interesting, like you say, bank records? If somebody gets married, it's no big deal to change the name on the... But to change the sex is just so difficult, because they have to change an M to an F or an F to an M. With a name, they have to change a whole string of letters. Why is this so hard?
Because they have a hang-up about changing someone's gender. It just people have a hard time wrapping their head around it. I can understand, but yeah.
Well, Leslie, we need you to come back again.
Done. Anytime.
We just barely scratched the surface on that. Part of it is because it is Pledge Drive this week. Give us a call, 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. We'll stick around a little bit after the show if you want to give us a call, or go to the website, knon.org/pledge. The other thing that I want to mention is, because we moved to Sunday, Doc was coming in, setting up on Saturday. Now he has to break down after the second show, come back on Sunday, reset up again, and he's running the board.
Thank you, Doc.
But we need some help. So we're looking.
Needs some help.
And over the years, this is how I found Lerone, was just by putting a call out over the air.
And Alex and Selka.
And Alex, right. So we're looking for a volunteer, somebody to come in, help Doc set up at about 12:30, help him with the board. And
it's the proverbial foot in the door in radio.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
So if you're listening and it's not you, but you know someone who is interested in learning more about radio and how it really works.
And with running the board,
with
running the board, the opportunity would be to help with several other shows to fill in running the board, but it would be learning the board, setting up all this equipment that we do, because we video all of the shows. So give us a call here at the studio, 972-647-1893, or email us.
Or you can go to lambdaweekly.com. There should be an email link there.
I don't think there is.
There's not? Or write to lambdaweekly@aol.com.
Oh, that hasn't worked in I don't know how long.
Wow.
You know what? How about my email address at Dallas Voice? Taffet, Taffet, @dallasvoice.com if you want to just send me an email. And that'll work. But we really could use a volunteer. It's not hard work. It's just, coming in and being very regular, not being late, because we have to have it set up by the time we go on the air. So Patty's not talking about this.
You could have the moniker early.
You'll be the early volunteer.
Early, whoever you are.
972-647-1893 is our number. Give us a call to pledge if you'd like to volunteer. The phone is ringing, and are we ready to wrap up, or am I real early? Oh, we have 2 minutes.
That's an eternity.
Well,
no, it isn't.
I'd like
Not
to add,
for us.
too, that you could go by our Facebook page, and if you haven't liked our Facebook page, we're Lambda Weekly Radio Program.
Oh, that's where you could send us a message also.
Send us a message on Facebook.
If you'd like to volunteer. Right.
You or someone you know would like to be a volunteer here at KNON in support of Lambda Weekly and support of Doc's efforts to record the show and run the show.
Also, too, if you happen to be transgender and you're questioning, or there's something that you need in the way of resources, Wednesday night we're out at Resource Center over at Brown and Reagan between about 6 and 9. We're there to talk with you, help with you, and anything that you need. So stop on by. We'd love to see you and meet you.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday night between 6 and 9. And that's GEAR, which is Gender Education, Advocacy, and Resource. That's what we do.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.